Eraser. You remember with Arnold Schwarzenegger and they erase his memory?
Yeah.
It's in like the Snake Eyes face-off bucket.
That's
It was
I mean, Arnold's had a bunch of movies like that. There's a couple other ones.
True Lies, obviously.
Yeah.
It's been a scene, man, and this is
Erased.
how the Wyndham kicks off. This is how the Wyndham should kick off. Talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger movies because Jordan saw Oppenheimer. Apparently, it's very good. But we're here to talk a little movies, but more importantly, we're here to make some money at Stokastic. Talking Wyndham Championship. We close out the regular season. We're going to talk all things PGA. Answer your questions, build some lineups, show off some tools. That's what we do. I'm Ben Rasa. That's Geoff Ulrich. We've been here all year. We hope you guys have as well. But if you're here for the first time, better late than never. Welcome aboard, sir. You are excited to go to the movies, and I'm sure you're excited to watch the Wyndham.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't mind some Barbie reviews in the Google chat
Yes.
as we're going. I mean, Barbie to me is like, from what I've heard, is just like, just getting blown out of proportion. Like it's the best movie that's ever made. I don't know. I'll definitely go see it. But I mean, I feel like it's become this phenomenon where everyone's like, oh, it's like awesome. And then I'm going to go see it. It's like, yeah, it's okay. It's Barbie. It's like, there's only so much you can do with that material, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't have a strong Barbie take. Maybe I'll see it. Want to see
Margot Robbie is in it, so I don't know. And Ryan Gosling. Like, I mean, I don't know
both
how
of
bad
them
it could actually be with those two, to be honest.
That's right.
It's probably
quality humans. Yeah. No doubt about it. So yeah, we're excited about that. If anyone has takes, Ross just said it's not good. That's all right. We deal with bad movies. We deal with bad golf tournaments.
I asked for them. Drop them in. What we're talking.
I want takes. I want takes on all things, including. We don't need a lot of takes on the 3M because
we really don't.
It was just like, oh, Lee Hodges might win, and then Lee Hodges won. I don't know. Literally nothing else happened.
It's a perfect way to put it. It was just nothing happened because just Lee Hodges won. So if you're a fan of Lee Hodges last week, man, that was it for you. I mean, it was it was similar to like when Russell Henley won the Mexican Open, which was awesome for me. And sucked for anyone who didn't have Russell Henley that week. But like, man, like the Lee Hodges thing, it's again, it felt the same as the Open. I feel like I targeted players like Lee Hodges, Gim, players like that. It was Lee Hodges instead of the players I targeted. So it's very boom or bust lately. It just is what it is with these events, man. They're low scoring birdie fest. They bring the whole field in. They give guys like Lee Hodges a chance to get going. And when they do, like, it just happens. So I don't know. Lee Hodges is a decent player. Like, I'm not really that shocked that he won. I'm a little shocked he won, but
the tricky part about it, and we've been saying this for a while, and this isn't some grand theory, 20 or 30 first-time winners that if they win, we could say, you know what? They've shown that they can win. But there's so many of them. Like Lee Hodges could have been Alex Smalley, could have been Jaeger, could have been Pendrith, and I could go on for quite a while. And it's just really difficult for it. But at the same time, I kind of like these events because it gives these guys, when you've got Scheffler and Rahm and Rory up there, it's not to say that Brian Harman can't win. But it's a lot more far-fetched where you see Lee Hodges go wire to wire and you're just like, yep, someone like that could do that. And I think it's pretty clear that someone could do that at the Wyndham. So I don't have a ton to say on the 3M. If you have any more 3M takes, the only other one for me, we're going to talk about them plenty, so we don't need to give the takes. Obviously, Justin Thomas continues to struggle.
Yeah.
And Sanjay.
It's weird. I have this leads into a weird story, but I work with someone at DK who has promised me numerous times he's got inside intel on Justin Thomas and why he's struggling. And both times he's promised me that he's going to text me this information. He has yet to text me it. So I was hoping I'd have something groundbreaking for tonight. I don't. If I do, I'll post it on Twitter or something. But there's clearly something going on with this guy. I mean, he can't make cuts at the 3M Open. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, at this point, I see people like, it's a big week. He's got to make the playoffs. Dude, he had to make the playoffs last week too. I mean, he is definitely broken something in his brain or his game or something. So I don't know. Proceed with caution. Could certainly crack the code this week and maybe put it together for top 10. It's an easy course. If he gets a little confidence, sure. But yeah, there's definitely something going on with JT this year.
Yeah, that's our last thing I'll say, and then we'll talk about our friends at DraftKings and Rainmakers. Something I fall into, and it doesn't mean you can't look at this. When we get to the end of the regular season and you have guys flirting with the playoffs, the concept of they're right on the number, they have to play well. If they were playing well, they wouldn't be on the number. Like they can't just turn it on. If you suck all year and then you get here and you need a huge week, I doubt you've just said, oh, let me just turn it on. Doesn't mean JP he can't play well, but proceed with caution there. Let's get to it though. You guys, again, if you watch the show, you probably already have some Rainmakers cards, but if you haven't, and you're new, and you're saying the NFL starts tomorrow, I might want to learn what's going on. Rainmakers is not going away anywhere, and they're giving you a free pack below. It is in the link in the description. You click it, you get your cards. You start building out your lineups. You see those contests. It's a different format. You're able to put combinations that legitimately don't exist with the standard scoring, because if you own, the top end cards, you can have those type of lineups, and there's a boatload of money up for grabs there. So I just want to give Rainmakers a shout out. Again, you have nothing to lose by claiming a free pack. Read the rules, read the format, decide what you want to do, but claim that free pack below, and then see what we can do at Sedgefield. We've been here for quite a while. We know this course. We're going to build some lineups with the generator soon enough, but before we do, let's talk a little about Sedgefield Country Club. Seems like Bomber's Paradise would be the opposite of what we're going for, given some of the winners here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, I always, this event and course always brings back a little bit of memories for me, mainly from, I think it was 2000. I can't remember the year, maybe 2017, the year Stenson won and he went head to head with Ollie Schneider-Jans, and like Sabatini was top 5. But I mean, it's, so it's just a course where, power off the tee means nothing. If you're just driving it accurate and you can just place it in the fairways, that's all you have to do off the tee here. You just don't have to do much. There's really no holes where, smashing a driver gives you a big advantage. Maybe a couple of par 5s, but even like the 15th par 5, it's like you can only hit it so far. Like I remember Finau hit a dead straight drive and it ran the fairway and went into the water. So that just gives you an idea of how tight this course is, how little driver is needed, and how big an advantage it is for players of a certain ilk who just are really good at approach games, really good around the greens, really good putters. I can't do shit off the tee, and it just doesn't matter this week because all they have to do is place it out there. They can use driving irons, they can use 3-woods and stuff like that. So big week for those guys. We've seen it time and time again. Streb, Kisner, they get in contention here. They win here. Henley, Webb Simpson. It's just those type of players. It's a week for them. Doesn't mean you have to avoid anyone who's like got power off the tee, but certainly, those kind of players. And we just see it in the odds as well. There's a ton of short par 5s. We have mid-tier winners. We've had 500-1 winners in Jim Herman. So, in terms of stats and stuff, 8 par 5s or 8 par 4s, excuse me, the range between 400 and 450 yards. It means short iron play. It means placement off the tee. And it just means, you can just kiss your driver goodbye this week, kind of.
Yeah. And that's always something that we talk about. You're never going to be punished by having distance off the tee. But when you think about some of these other players, they have to survive on tour without that ability. So when they get to a course where it's neutralized, think about the advantage they have in that regard, that they're already used to maximizing the other clubs in their bag. And that's something that I think we just see over and over. But if you tell me someone who's really good off the tee could win here, I would believe you. It doesn't mean that you want to be bad. It just means that it's not going to kill you as we get to some of these guys. But the first thing we've been doing, and I actually really like this process. So Mr. Klein, if you're not rewatching Oppenheimer and you can bring up lineup generator for me, I want to look at some lineups and see. And again, this is our tool. You can get it for under $5 for the week. The link's below. We're going DraftKings main. We're going to go to a balanced build. And what I love about this, you can choose all your inputs and see. You click balance lineups here, and then you look, and I want to see Hideki. I want to see what the lineups look like with Hideki. It's not Henley chalk. These are going to be a little different. You can look at them, you can save them, you can discard them. Again, these are super easy tools. If you're just kind of playing golf week in and week out and you want a different feel for some of your lineups, add this into your process. Again, you're talking about an extra entry in like the $4 tournament is the cost of this for the week. You see all your exposures, you see all your lineups. And right off the bat, Geoff, it's no surprise. I know this was going to be the case. North of 10, you pair with Denny McCarthy this week, who's going to be really popular. I think a lot of lineups are going to be Henley, McCarthy, and that type of build.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, like, I mean, Denny at 35 to 1, whatever, 30 to 1, and at 8.7 on DraftKings. I mean, I do kind of agree. Like, he is a little bit too cheap. You're buying into the ownership here, but you're also buying a player who has proven us, like, when he comes to these courses at this point, like, he's going to challenge. So again, like, this is almost the reverse of what I usually say, but I actually don't mind getting exposure to Denny in DFS. I think that he's a player who you could, maybe not think about locking, but definitely think about like going overweight on, because he fits in all kinds of builds. I don't really like his betting number necessarily, but he's proven to us like the top 10 equity is just massive at these kind of courses. So yeah, I think that, you look there, you see him obviously paired with Hideki. There's enough like dart throws that we're going to get to in the low 7K range, in the high 6K range, that you're going to be able to pair Hideki and Denny together if you want, and you can still make low owned lineups. I don't really have a problem with that. So yeah, I'm kind of on board, to be honest. I think that for DFS, he makes a lot of sense. He's just too cheap to fade, I think. Especially when you got a similar player like Poston at 92. Our boy Jaeger's up there at 89. Certainly Denny, I think, is priced like just well. It's just good. He's just a good value. So yeah, interesting to see there. Obviously, those kind of builds are going to be popular, but there's ways to get around it. And, Hideki is, I'm not as bullish on Hideki. Obviously, he's like the second most expensive player. He's not been putting well, but so you can pair him with other top players as well, like lower owned play, like an Adam Scott or something. So
a lot of ways to do it. Again, if you're interested in that, the links are below. Just click at PGA lineup generator. You'll get that half off. Really good deal. But let's talk about the board in general. We've got, 4 guys north of 10, starting with Sanjay, Decky, Russell Henley, who makes a ton of sense, but he's going to be very popular, in Sam Burns. To me, Sanjay and Henley make the most sense. Burns and Decky are more, not crazy different, but I'd say against the grain relative to the 10K range. I like Decky a little more than you. You're the Henley whisperer. Again, he makes all the sense in the world, but are you looking to say I'll leverage elsewhere, or maybe I won't play as much Henley as the field?
I mean, I think that the nice thing about Russ is like he's priced up. So like he's going to have some ownership on him. But again, I think people look at the price difference between Henley and Hideki, and it's so small that, again, like you're going to get a pretty good ownership gap between the two. Already mentioned someone in the chat here, Slim, who's saying, like, I'm going to try, like, I really like Henley. I'm going to lock him, and I'm going to definitely play him with some Hideki, which I think makes sense because that gets you exposure to Hideki, and also it's going to create like just a more of a unique build. I mean, we saw that most Hideki lineups probably going to start with someone in the low 9s, high 8s. But if you start Hideki Henley, that's going to change things up right away. So I do like Russ. I really don't mind any of the top 3. I think that Hideki you have to give the nod to just in terms of general upside. He's just the best of the 3 players right now. But I would, again, like I think Sanjay probably turns it on here, but I'm not confident enough in him right now to say he's got the same kind of win equity as Henley. I think Russ is more likely to win. Like I would put him second behind Hideki. His approach game has been great for months now. The Open Championship, like who cares? I mean, Denny blew out the Open Championship. Tons of players went to the Open this year, and just happens every year. So I don't really put any stock into what happened there. Russ opened 62, 64 this course a couple years ago. If he shows up with the putter, gets a little bit of confidence going on Thursday, I mean, he will absolutely throw in a couple lightning rounds. So I talk about it all the time, but this really is just another Russ Henley track. I would have no problem getting him in there.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely something that you can do. And I think the point to make, though, is if you're going to do that, I still would advocate pairing him with some of the guys that would be the Henley pivots. Don't just play Henley and then say, okay, that means I can't play Decky, Sanjay, Burns, Scott. Like, I don't know about that. I think that you want to get exposure up here, not to as many guys as possible. You can make your stands, but I think that that's an interesting build, and no problem. We can do this. Anthony Taylor, I'm gonna give him a shout out. He said, "Can we do a FanDuel lineup generator?" We don't talk about FanDuel a ton on the show. We absolutely can do that. We're going back in time. We're going to FanDuel, and we're gonna kind of just talk through the same thing. We're gonna go to all lineups. We're gonna go to those balanced lineups once again, and we'll click Decky, and let's just see what we get over there. It's the same concepts, but I think that's a great question because really, as we work down in the top tier as we're building these out, I'm interested to see like where Aberg and those type of guys fall for you this week. Again, you've got a lot of different options in these ranges. It's not the first range, it's the kind of that second tier. And you see right here, again, when we look at FanDuel right now, you've got Decky, of course, because that's the guy you locked, and you still have Denny up there with Hadwin, who are going to be two staples on either sides, but you do have kind of a different blend around them with Chris Kirk and Sue and Eric Cole, some of those type of players.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it gives people at the very least too a good look at what the pricing difference is here too on the two sites. Obviously, Eric Cole popping a little bit. He's a little bit more of a value on FanDuel. Obviously, some other names there like Brendan Todd's down there in the 8K range. KH Lee popping as a value on FanDuel. So if you're playing there, take note of that. Doug Gim actually looks like his price down there on FanDuel is actually a lot more palatable. So not that he's expensive on DraftKings either, but obviously just considering the whole pricing thing, he's gonna pop a little bit more. So yeah, it gives people a good idea there. Kind of interested to see. It's a good time to just talk. I mean, like Denny, I just think that Eric Cole's mispriced a little bit this year, probably more mispriced than Denny. I actually am surprised that Eric Cole. I'd say one of my biggest surprises this week is just the lack of heat that Eric Cole's getting. I think that and I really would attribute it to one thing, and it's his first time playing the course. I really think people are like, oh, he's never played Sedgefield Country Club before, so he can't do well. That's kind of what it feels like. He's 7,700. This dude gained like 7 strokes ball approach and putting combined last week. He's been terrific on these courses, Honda, Sawgrass. Like Eric Cole to me is a really, really strong play this week. I'm a little surprised he's not up there higher. So just wanted to point that out. Maybe he's going to be projecting more ownership on FanDuel, but certainly DraftKings, our ownership projections on Cole, sub 10% still. I'm sure it'll be higher than that, but I don't know about how much higher. So
it's true. So again, just want to give that a shout out. Links are in the description, but as we talked about on both sites, you have the option to go up top, of course, with 2 elite players, but I'm interested to see how interested are you in a balanced build? A starting with, say, a Shane Lowry, an Aberg, a Poston, even, JT's almost in a separate category at this point. Do you want to play him? And then if you did, would he be your second or first man in? How do you kind of navigate that second tier?
I mean, I guess you could think about using JT as your first man in, and then, loading up in the 8K range. I don't like it. I just don't really. I mean, let's just start by talking. Let's maybe start bottom up. I think Aberg and Thomas are. I just don't think you need to get fancy here. There's clearly something wrong with Justin Thomas. If you want to be neutral on them, like the thing about Thomas and Aberg is these guys were trending with 5% ownership, and everyone was out on them. Absolutely, let's buy the dip a little bit. Let's get overweight. Let's bet them at big numbers. No one's doing it. Everyone's out. I like that idea. That's not what's happening. Both of them are projected for over 10% ownership on Stokastic. And again, I cannot emphasize this enough. Try out the Stokastic projections. Yes. Try out, just using the site a bit. The ownership projections, week to week, they get updated. They're amazing. So again, it's just my pitch. Try it out. We got golf. It goes all year. I mean, and you can get the whole package as well. But that's my thing there. Our projections have both these guys, Aberg and Thomas, as over 10%. Aberg's actually close to 15%. I don't have any appeal for either of them at those ownership ranges in DFS. Aberg to me is just, he's going to hit it straight, but his best club is taken out of his hands this week. His approach game, like I know he lost like 7 strokes on approach last week. I know some of that's the water, but this is another approach-driven course, and I just don't see the upside at 9,300. If he was 8,300, sure. If he was 5% owned up here, sure, but neither of those things are happening. I don't like either of those guys. I don't mind mixing in Poston. Certainly Siwoo Kim, Mr. Wyndham at this point, now that Webb stinks, is fine. But I like your idea of Burns, Scott, Lowry. I think those three are really interesting. And if you're going to create a balanced lineup, that's probably where I would think about starting. I don't know if you could start in the 8K range. That would be dicey. But if ever there was a course to do it, this is certainly it. So I just don't really like that low 9K range. I think taking a shot with like an Adam Scott or a Lowry is fine. I would prefer Scott because I've been riding him. I think he played well at the Travelers. He's played well at the Sony before. He has tended to do these little technical court tracks pretty well. So I would prefer Scott up there, but certainly Burns is another play you could think about starting with. I'm just out on those guys, man. Like I just don't think there's any reason to get cute here. We're not getting an ownership discount, and it's just really not for different reasons. I don't think Aberg or Thomas really have much appeal.
I don't want to go because again, I don't think this makes them more or less likely to do anything. I just was more wondering your takes with JT. If he wins, it takes care of everything. But if he plays just like standard okay, where do you think he lands Ryder Cup? Just out of curiosity.
Oh man, I mean the Ryder Cup it's just its own thing. Like I'll be dead honest. I think Justin Thomas will be on the Ryder Cup team. I don't think he should be, but I do.
What
think
if he misses the cut here?
I don't even think it matters what he does here. I think
really, wow.
Yeah.
Now, see, that would be wild.
Here's the thing, though. Justin Thomas, like this isn't Ricky Fowler. This isn't like Billy Horschel. Justin Thomas won a major a year ago.
Yes.
He's won 2 majors. He's won the Players. Like Justin Thomas has been a win or more player for like 5 straight years. And really his bad patch has been about 5 months. I think that this really goes to like the old boys club, which I don't think people realize are just taking into account. Like all I see on Twitter is like Justin Thomas can't play on the Ryder Cup or he shouldn't be on the Ryder Cup. It's not going to matter when Zach Johnson and all the good old boys get in there. They're going to give JT a pass. I virtually guarantee it. I'm sure Twitter will lose their mind. I think Justin Thomas will be on the Ryder Cup team. I don't necessarily think he should be. I'm not advocating for it. I'm just saying I think he'll be on the Ryder Cup team. And I don't think this week has no bearing. I don't care if he finishes 50th, 5th, or miscut. I think he's still going to be on the Ryder Cup team.
That is what I'm talking about. Flip it. We're going to revisit that because I do not. I think maybe I do agree. I honestly don't know what I think at this point. He certainly shouldn't be if he doesn't even make the playoffs.
No, and again, I want to make this real clear.
Yeah, I know you're saying that.
Justin Thomas should be on the Ryder Cup team. I just think what is going to happen is he's going to get a pass, and he is going to be on the Ryder Cup team.
It seems like bad news for Cam Young or Finau or one of those type of players.
Look, the other thing, like you can bet the Euros at like plus 200 or 180 or something.
Yeah, in Rome.
In Rome, yeah, exactly.
In Rome. We got, speaking of, well, Siwoo to make the team would be very, very rare considering he is not eligible, but he is next in the pricing at 9K. Jaeger, maybe he rattles off 3 straight wins and gets on the team. Cam Davis, Denny, Aaron Rye, obviously in there. I'm talking about the upper 8s and the flat 9s. This is a good range. I don't think you want to start here. Denny, obvious target. I think that Cam Davis is sneaky, can really score for you. Yeah. What do you make of the range?
Yeah, if you want to go hyper balanced, like it's not what. Like I wouldn't make too many lineups like this, but I do think like it's viable this week to start with like a Davis or a Jaeger, maybe even both, or like Denny, 2 of the 3, and go from there. Certainly, it's a strong range. Of those 4, I mean, I would probably rank Aaron Rye last. Not that he's not been playing well, that he doesn't have a good floor, but he is. Well, him and Jaeger are the worst putters of this group. Let's put it that way. That irks me, but I think that Jaeger still has proven that he's got just a little bit more consistency, a little bit more upside. We've seen it from him all year. Rye's kind of come and gone. I'll give the edge to Jaeger there. I think Denny, like I said off the top, is a very good value, but I think Cam Davis is the best player of this group. So I would rank him first personally. If you're going to go hyper balanced, that is a player I would absolutely need to get in because I think Cam Davis has as much talent as anyone in the low 9K range right now. And I think he's playing better than he's not playing better than Poston, but it's close. And he's certainly playing better than Aberg or Thomas. So love Cam Davis this week. Would not have a problem pairing in Jaeger and Rye. I think those guys have extremely good floors at this point. Steven Jaeger's made 15 of 16 cuts. My God, I hope he finds out how to putt soon because I am tired of burning money on this guy, but
Yes.
going to keep doing it. And like I said, Denny is just undervalued. So I like this range, man. I do think you can take two guys here and build a pretty good lineup if you can hit on the right kind of, high 7K players.
Let's keep working down because it does start to trickle down. Keith withdrew, but then you have a fascinating range. Benny On, who he found something clearly in Europe. He played really, really well. And he's going to gain off the tee without doing anything stupid. He's not bombing it, but he doesn't screw up off the tee as much as some of the other areas. Bo Hostler, who feels out of place, but he's not, considering how well he's playing at the Barracuda, the 3M, and even at John Deere. Your boy Chris Kirk, and then Alex Smalley, who along with Denny and Post, like he's going to be really popular. And that is a fascinating range. Talk to me about the lower eights.
Yeah, Smalley's interesting. He's certainly getting some heat. I think he'll be higher owned than our projections necessarily have as well, at least in the high range of where our projections would fall. So, I mean, but I really don't have a problem with him either. I mean, he's just got the ideal short game or the ideal approach game for this kind of spot. He's been a little bit inconsistent. So, as like a fade candidate, I mean, certainly a miscut is within his range. I definitely can understand, like, if you're taking that stance on him. Chris Kirk is a player I just about bet this week, but I still like for DFS. And the thing about Kirk too is, I mean, again, this is a complete Chris Kirk course. He's a great wedge player, and he's getting probably the least attention of what you call like that sort of style of player. I mean, people are talking about Siwoo Kim. Hadwin's getting talked about a little. No one's really talking about Kirk, so that's kind of nice just from an ownership perspective. I mean, Bo Osler is certainly playing a little bit better, but as you mentioned, he's just out of place here. Our projections would agree. He's probably got the worst value score just in terms of where he sits there in the 8K range. So, again, like I think Smalley's a strong play. A little bit worried about the ownership there, but definitely a player I would want to mix in or at least be kind of maybe neutral on. I think Benny is definitely like really interesting just from a more of a win equity spot. I mean, he's been really consistent all year. He popped at the Scottish Open, and really, why not? I mean, he's 8,400. I don't have a problem with it. I like him a little bit more than Kirk for upside. I think Kirk's got a really nice floor, but I think Benny's upside is pretty good in this spot. So, again, Hostler I'd be out on. Kirk and Smalley, I think taking doses of are really is fine. And then, Benny On is kind of a guy that I just don't even think you're going to need that much of necessarily. Well, I mean, I guess he's projecting a little bit higher for us, but I'm not sure how many people are actually going to click on Benny On. Feels like we got him a little bit too high, but we'll see what happens when lineups are locked tomorrow.
Yeah, I like Benny. He could be honestly my favorite play, and he gets me into trouble, but I think this is a really good setup for him. I do want to ask you about two last names before we move to the bottom half of the mid-range. Shout out to Tyler Petrie. Taylor Moore, good pivot off Smalley. I do think that's interesting. Taylor Moore is a proven winner. He knows what he's doing, but he's also playing kind of bad, and I think that's really thrown off a lot of people. And then you have Hadwin, who's going to make a lot of sense as another reasonable player. He's had some good results, of course, Rocket Mortgage specifically. Do you have interest in those guys, or are they just more one-offs?
I would prefer Hadwin. I actually like Hadwin quite a bit. I know he's missed a couple cuts, but it wasn't terrible. I actually looked into his proximity numbers last week. He was hitting it well. He just really just didn't do anything else well. But a lot of that is like 3M Open driven. Like, I know they're both birdie fests, and it kind of feels like maybe it's the same course, but like the 3M Open and Twin Cities, it is a different course. You have to take driver on almost every hole there. You got to carry water. It's not really Hadwin's cup of tea, in my opinion. This is far better for him. I like Hadwin quite a bit. I actually bet him. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I like it or not. I just did it. But I think that this is a player who, like 2 starts ago, was in a playoff. He's shown that his approach game and putting can go absolutely nuclear at the same time. And I like that because that's what you have to do here. Similar to what like Stenson did, like when I was talking about that, similar to what Herman did when he won. You just get in a groove in those 2 parts of your game and everything else flows. And Hadwin can do that. I like him quite a bit. I think that would be the pivot for me. We'll see how popular he is. I think there'll be a cap on his ownership, though. I think Smalley's going to get a lot of love, and And, again, Hadwin's still coming off 2 missed cuts, which I think is just going to drive some people away. But I'm not really scared of that at all.
No doubt about it. And there's just a lot of names below him. It's a crowded range. There's no like clear guy, in my opinion, but there's also not that many throwaways. And what I mean by that, in the upper sevens, you got Gary Woodland, Patrick Rogers, Norman, Spawn, Batia, Eric Cole, Billy Ho, who's kind of shown a little bit, Detry, Svensson, Pendrith, Lucas Glover, Hubbard, Webb Simpson. I mean, the names go on and on. None of these guys are the obvious play, but none of them are, I don't have, what are they doing here? It's not to say I'm playing all of them, but you can make a case for a lot of those type of players this week.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this feels like a range where it's like, it just, if you're going to mix in like 3 players, just spread the ownership. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a spray and pray range outside of Eric Cole, who, like I said, I still am not sure why he's not getting a little bit more love. Like, everyone was in love with Eric Cole at the John Deere. I think his price there was, do you remember what his price was at the Deere?
At the John Deere, I can tell you. I've got it right here. Eric Cole at the John Deere was, don't have it right here. I have no idea. They used to put that on the little DraftKings card.
Yeah, that's.
What have they done?
Who knows? Who knows what's going on with that guy?
No respect.
We love you, DraftKings. I'm just kidding. I love you. But I just think Eric Cole was expensive there, and everyone liked Eric Cole that week. This is the same kind of course. This might even be a better setup for him. It's Bermuda greens. It's similar to what he's been playing on. He did well in Florida, the KF tour as well. I just think he's underpriced, and that's certainly a player who I think sets up perfectly. He's got good form. He's been making cuts despite being a bit of a disaster off the tee. But you look back to Eric Cole, gained a bunch of strokes off the tee at Honda, gained strokes at like Sawgrass. Like, when he gets to these technical tracks, he can find the fairway. And I think, again, you talked about it off the top, like, players like him understand like that they have to make up for their strokes, in other parts of the game. And when that power equation just leans in their favor, it's a big advantage. So there's certainly other players down here, though. I don't want to just talk about him. I actually considered Harris English a little bit this week. But, another player, very boomer bust you could mix in. Detry, I don't really have a problem with. He played a little bit better. I don't know if that'll translate to this week, but I certainly think the price is okay to take a shot with him. Norman's cooled off a little bit. I'd probably stay away there. I'm not sure what to think of Batia. I'd probably say no on this kind of track. I don't necessarily love him around like this would just like a little bit more space for him. Like a place like last week would have made more sense, I think. But I think that, like I said, English, Detry down there, and you mentioned Horschel as well. I think that those players are worth mixing in, but I definitely prefer Cole in this range as my favorite.
I don't have a ton in the range. Again, there's a lot of flyers that I think you could go to, but it's not my favorite. Apparently it's 9,700. Appreciate that, chat. Good stuff. Billy Ho. I like Pendrith. I think that Pendrith is he's more of a, I don't know what you want to call him, a project for me. I've been playing him a lot. I don't really know where to play him, so I've just kind of played him. And I think that's okay with a guy like this, because when you're getting it right, you're getting paid off. And when you're not, you're missing the cut, and that's okay. Not everyone needs to be like, oh, he's very safe. But as we work down, I want to ask you, this is very rare for me. I'm trying to grow as a human. Brendan Todd only gains strokes in stupid categories, but he does in fact do that. And I don't like playing people like this, but does he in fact make sense, or should I just play Shank, who I want to play?
I would actually play Todd here. I know that Shank's been like all over leaderboards, and he does seem like he's due, but man, Brendan Todd, again, we're looking for like the Webb Simpson archetype. The guy the Kevin Kisner. That is Brendan Todd.
It is.
Again, Brendan Todd should have gotten into a playoff with the John Deere. He really screwed up his last 3 holes. He missed the 6-footer. He missed some, I can't even remember what happened now, but he definitely blew it a little bit there. But he played pretty good around that course. I do kind of like Todd this week. I definitely would not have a problem working him in. Shank is okay, but again, I feel like Shank's time is running out until we get like a real cold spell again. I don't know if I'm not necessarily overly worried about Adam Shank down there. So I would rather play Todd. I just think I think he's overall a better player. He's a little bit up and down, but on these kind of courses, I think his upside is really, really good. I kind of skipped over the 75s. I don't hate Mark Hubbard. I actually like Svensson down there too.
Yeah.
That Svensson or Pendrith. Like I definitely get your argument on Pendrith. Svensson's probably a little bit safer, just because he's starting to play well again. He sets up really well for these setups, but understand the argument there. But yeah, Brendan Todd, to me, that's kind of who I would target there at the 74s as well.
Sad state of affairs, but I do think it's true. But we're gonna round out the range now. It gets fun.
Yeah, you talk about bad state of affairs. So you wait till we get to the 73s and under here.
Sue, not Rasmus, one of the Hogarths who could be on the Ryder Cup team. Doug Gim, Noren, who I bet Noren. You bet Noren, I believe.
Yeah, unfortunately,
we've all bet Noren. I mean, I was going down with the ship. I like him. These are the type of guys, though. I mean, talk to me. Streelman's also there. I like the lower sevens quite a bit. These are Gim and Noren in particular are guys that I'm really high on this week.
Yeah, as I said, the sad state of affairs is that I basically like everyone in this range.
Yeah, it's bad.
So I feel like I could just field a team of $7,200 losers this week and really go for it. Okay, so let's start. Hogard is a little bit interesting, but the only problem with Hogard is I think people are just natural. Like he's almost like the stat sheet play. Maybe not so much this week because people are a little bit scared of the layout, but he'll have some ownership. Justin Suh is so annoying to play. I'm just going to give him a break here. I like Noren, gain strokes, very much that archetype I was just talking about. Like Brendan Todd, he's got the approach game. He can go low. No problem giving him a chance here. He's played before as well. He goes down here too. God, I almost skipped over him. Continues to play well. Continues to be hot with the putter. Brandon Wu is a real low name that I'm going to throw it here too. And again, like I said, I like everyone in this range. It feels like, but Brandon Wu gained over 5 strokes ball striking last week. He lost 5 strokes on the greens. Brandon Wu though has proven like that putter will absolutely flip on a dime. He's gained I think it's over 6 strokes putting in 3 out of like his last 10 or 12 events. Like he can get fire with that club. So if the approaches are there, I'm always going to be interested in Brandon Wu. And I think, he was T8 at this event last season. He's got the other thing that I just like about him is when he plays well, he plays well. Like he's got a bunch of top 10s over the last year. I think he's got like 5 top 10s. So when he gets there for you for DFS. I like it as a boom bust play. No one's going to play him down here. Gim is absolutely fine, continues to play well. Maybe he'll pop one day. Maybe he'll just get a T25. It's probably not going to kill you. I'll let you take the Lindheim one because, I mean, you know more about this guy than I ever will. But, yeah, there's a bunch of players in here you can mix in. It's kind of just pick your poison. I like Brandon Wu as the real low-owned target there. I think Hagel's fine again. I think Noren, I'd probably rather just bet Noren than play him DFS because it feels like everyone's going to. But certainly you can get a piece of him here too.
Very fair. Chap mentioned Andrew Putnam. He's another guy that fits the profile who can really roll it. He makes cuts. So the beautiful thing about this range is you can have 2 or 3 of these guys in lineups. So you can get a lot of exposure. I know it seems like, well, what good is it if you like all these players? It doesn't really matter. It's not like saying I like, the top 10 guys because you can't play 3 or 4 of them in a lineup. You can do that down here. Nicholas Lindheim, yes. So I forgot he existed.
So did I.
Then I remembered he existed. Then I was confused if I was thinking about the right guy.
Okay, so I actually have a funny story because when I was doing one of the articles I did this week, obviously I take a look at the ownership projection, see what's going on, and Lindheim was up there. He was like 10th or something in terms of top projected owned players. This was at the start of the week. I think he's cooled off a bit, but I just about emailed you and be like, there's something wrong with the projections this week. Is Lindheim even like alive?
Oh, he's alive. And
then I did some research and I found out, he's alive, my friends. He's more than alive. So go ahead. Sorry.
So what I thought, again, this could just be my warped reality. Nicholas Lindheim was like Taylor Montgomery-esque at one point. He was an elite putter and he really couldn't do anything else. Then he went away. Then he got hurt. Now he's still hurt, but he's back. And he's dominated on the Korn Ferry Tour in his last 2 starts, a 3rd and a 1st. this field isn't that much better in some regards. Like, this is not, he got himself into the US Open. So I don't mind it. I guess my bigger problem with Lindheim is you've got 10 guys right above him that I've seen for a month straight play tour events. So, like, I don't think it's far-fetched to think he comes in and is just fine. He's 55 to 1 in the outright market. I think that is outrageous.
Crazy.
What are we doing? Like Woodland's 65 to 1. Like that makes no sense to me. You want to play him at 71? I'll probably have some exposure. He's in a large bucket of players of all the guys we just mentioned. Plus, I'll have a little Bez and a little MJ Defoe to round out my 7K. MJ Defoe is actually pretty good, or Duffy or whatever his name is.
Yeah, who cares? But yeah, he has been playing good as well. I'm really surprised I have not heard about Sam Ryder from you, Ben. I'm a little disappointed. Sam Ryder played well last week, man. It's 14 under in his last 3 rounds. Gained strokes everywhere, pretty much. I put Sam Ryder on the card. I got him 150 to 1. He's in the first round leader bets. He's going off early. I really like Sam Ryder. I know I've said I told you I liked everyone down here, and I meant it, but Ryder, we saw him at the start of the year. He almost won like twice.
Valero, he made me my best week of the year by far was Valero, and he made a birdie literally from a graveyard on 18. He was in a cemetery and he came back and made birdie. He can do that. I mean, it's not a top end finish. And I know you know this. The miscut equity on Sam Ryder is gigantic, but he also has legit top 5 equity every time he tees it up.
Yeah. So I mean, another player down here you could add. We haven't even talked about, like, who knows what Mackenzie Hughes is going to do. And I'm Davis Riley is just there. He's can get hot with the putter. I don't think we've thrown out probably other options, but I just wanted to mention him. I considered him. He wasn't really gaining strokes on approach or anything at the Scottish Open. I know he started well there. If he had been, I'd probably be more interested, but he's kind of, he's a Southern US guy. He played well here last season on no form. It's just interesting. Real, just like 1%er. You don't have to go crazy on.
No doubt about it. We're going to get to the salary savers in a second. I do want to just mention, though, of course, a rare golf, but not golf-centric thing on this show. Of course, I'd be an idiot if I didn't at least mention football is here. I mean, golf will continue, and we're happy to do it, but the NFL is coming. College football is here. All of that stuff is available on both Stokastic and our betting side, Odd Chopper. So if you're looking for that type of content, I just wanted to make sure you guys are aware. We're going to have coverage starting tomorrow. Preseason, we got we have more coverage than the length of the game for the Hall of Fame game. There will be more than 3 hours of content on these channels with the Hall of Fame game and everything you want. So I just wanted to, if you're not subscribed, make sure the Odd Chopper YouTube as well as Stokastic here. We want you guys to make sure you get that content because I know you'll be here for NFL, but I assume that you have names in the 6K range that you're comfortable playing this week.
I mean, I always have names. I'm never comfortable playing them, but definitely there are names. I mean, I think that the high 6K range to me is actually pretty strong. I think that I just feel like the names there this week could easily be in the low 7K range. So that's always nice to see because that to me means you can dip down here and not really feel like you're losing much or really losing anything. Certainly Doc Redman is a guy that I like. I mean, Carolina native, has played well here before. He's finally made 2 cuts in a row, the first time all year. And again, like I mentioned with Hadman, like I looked into Redman, proximity stats were really good last week, a couple weeks in a row for him actually, which is really good because he's a great short iron player. It's really accurate off the tee. Gonna benefits from setups like this. So it feels a little dicey. Hopefully we're not early here, but I think Redmond could really do something this week or just at the very least have a solid week. But certainly, Matthew Neesmith is down here at a palatable price. He's again, another guy, I believe he's actually from the Carolinas, maybe Southern Carolina. I can't remember. What about just getting back on Grayson Sigg, who was looking really good up until last week? I don't necessarily have a problem with that. Callum Tarrant is down here. I don't hate. So yeah, there's a few names. I just think that you can dip down in this range if you want to. None of these guys are world beaters. I probably like Redmond the most, but certainly arguments could be made for a couple names.
definitely arguments could be named for some of these. I saw chat throw out Harry Hall. I get that he fits that profile of a crazy freak putter. Do I say Aaron Baddeley? I don't know about that, but he did play really well, and he
Yeah.
can really roll it. Short game is elite. And then going down, Zach Blair, Lingmerth. I mean,
what we skipped over the obvious here. What in the hell are you doing with Brant Snedeker this week?
I don't know about that. I mean,
where did he come from last week? What the what?
Yeah, I don't.
Just drops in from outer space and like
He should just be with Charles Howell. Wherever Charles Howell is, Snedeker should be with him, and I wouldn't have to deal with this. Honestly, we really buried the lead. You know who's going to win is Stuart Sink. Stuart Sink is just like quietly dealing. He's somehow playing all the tours simultaneously, including the senior tour. And he's just really good, and he's flat 7, but I don't think I can do it with
crazy.
Sneds.
Davis loved the third one here when he was 51. So
you see what I'm talking about?
There you go, man.
Good. Honestly, what do you? I've seen some very sharp people talk about Zach Blair though, and he's someone who really doesn't hit it long. He was good last week. Is it chasing, or do you really see some merit to going down there? That's not a inception to talk about Troy Merritt, but he is also in this range.
Blair is interesting because of what he did last week. I believe he met his medical exemption status, didn't it? Chat's gonna have to, if anybody knows about Zach Blair's status, let me know. But I believe he met his exemption status with the finish last week, which is like really, really big for him. So we talk about, and this is important because we talk about the pressure, and everyone wants to know where are guys on the bubble. I don't really want to play the bubble guys this week. I want people coming in here with like house money time. That's kind of what Zach Blair is, I think, anyways, which I love. So, I definitely would be into Zach Blair here. I mean, he's a great approach. You know, his short iron game, really all his iron game, and then he's a good putter. I mean, why not? He's starting to get some confidence. It reminds me a little bit of like, Tom Kim last year, where okay, like I'm not in the FedEx Cup playoffs, but I got my status rolled up.
Yep.
Let's just see what happens. That's maybe what Zach Blair is coming in like as well. I don't have a problem continuing to play Zach Blair. I don't even think it's chasing. He played well last week. We've seen him play well a couple times now. It's his kind of course. He's 6,500. He was like 7,500, sure, maybe. But for DFS down here, yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if this feels like chasing either. This is a true 1%er. If you're looking for a real off the radar player, I think that Kramer Hickok makes some sense here. And he made 3 straight cuts. He gained 7 strokes with the approach at the 3M. And I think this is a better course for him than the 3M. He's got Houston splits. He's got Bermuda splits. He's 6,400 and not a soul in the world is going to play him. I think he is a wild card YOLO type play.
People forget that Kramer Hickok just about won an event.
He went through like 10 playoff holes. Remember that?
Yes.
I think it was Harris English.
Was insane. So, a guy who's almost won on tour at another tricky little course. I mean, why not really? So, and just to confirm the last point I made, Zach Blair did get his medical exemption. He's got his full status.
See?
He's not on the bubble. This is absolutely house money for Zach Blair. I think I'm going to add him to my betting card. Now,
you're going to get like
now that my brain
to 1
has gone like that. But yeah, no, Hickok, absolutely, man. Why not? I think for DFS, Hickok is in a nice spot too. There's pressure on Hickok to perform here, but it's a little bit of a different kind of pressure where he's not on the bubble. He's not going for like a 5th or something. Like it's still very in a much of a just like all or nothing kind of thing for him. So yeah, I kind of like it. I think it's a solid DFS play. And really, like when we're getting down here, I mean, like Roy continues to like hit the ball well, but like missed too many cuts. James Hahn was doing something for 2 rounds last week. I mean, who else are you going to play down here? So I think, yeah, Hickok is a guy you can look to. because I don't really have any other options down here. I mean, you could play Bryce Garnett if you want to at 63, but it gets pretty dicey down here too. I looked into Nunez. I just don't think there's enough there.
Didn't know he was in the tournament.
He lost. I got to look this up. Look up Nunez's stats from last week. It's okay. It's fucking wild. Like,
14 strokes lost on the approach.
Yeah, lost 14 strokes on approach last week, but he made the cut. But it's just wild. So minus 10 tee to green. He must have hit like 10 balls in the water. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention.
Tin cup situation.
Yeah. Anyways, that's what you're left with down here if you don't play Kramer Hickok. You get minus 14 strokes on approach.
Cam Percy's down there. That's another one. Again, I'm not advocating to play Cam Percy, but I'm just saying. Yeah. He is down here. We've gone to the depths. Last thing I will say, EVR, don't play EVR under any circumstance. But every week I think, wow, EVR finally made a cut and he still doesn't make it. Him and Fratelli are as busted as I've ever seen them, and it's been quite a while. It's a tough scene. I hope they get their games back because they are not playable.
I would still like to know what is happening with Dylan Fratelli. Like, he looked okay at the start of the year, and the wheels haven't just come off. I mean, there are no wheels from the train. There are no wheels left to move this thing. So
his best performances, I'm not joking, are miscuts, because his bad ones, he's legitimately 25 over with like 10 holes left and he withdraws.
Yeah.
So, they don't even show up.
It's weird.
And then he'll just win, but not this week. All right. It's time to build a lineup. We have talked about a lot of different golfers. I don't know where this lineup's going to go, but I can't wait to find out. Let's do it. Okay.
Let's go. What are we doing here? As I tell me madly in the chat, I'm just going to pick the guy who I've talked about already. Let's start with Eric Cole.
Yeah. Smart. You go bet like one of your best available, and I'm going to do the same thing with Benny on. I know but I like Benny on this week. I really think that he is in the bucket of many players that is searching for a first win and could get it.
We didn't talk too much about him, but like, he was really good in Scotland. Like, he didn't blow up or anything. Like, he was right there the whole time. So it does feel like, maybe that is the boost he needed to really get over the line. He's played well here before. So yeah. Some exposure to Benny on, I am never against. Okay. Where do we want to do this? I guess we got to bite the bullet. Break the seal and go up, which we do here. Man, so many these kind of courses, man, they always stump me about exactly where to build. But I'm gonna put I feel like we got to get some of these expensive guys in. I guess you don't have to, but you know what? Let's just get Cam Davis in there, 8,800. Like I said, I mean, I think if you're gonna build around someone in this range, I prefer him slightly over Denny, and you get the ownership gap as well.
I have no problem with that. We're going to go. You know what? We're going to go. We'll have plenty of room. I'm going to put in Doug Gim right after Cam Davis. It'll leave us with plenty of funds, but Doug Gim, I put him on my tweet. You can always follow me at Ras DFS, Jeff at the Fantasy Grind. My tweet I put out every week is my favorite play last week. And obviously after Thursday, all the slappies were yelling at me, rightfully so. But credit to Doug Gim. He grinded. And although my lineups were dead, he made that cut. He shot 74 in round 1, 63 in round 2. And then he shot 2 rounds in the sub 70 in 3 and 4. I think that's pretty damn impressive.
That's something else we should have given some credit to. That was one of the most impressive bounce backs.
Yeah, of course, it doesn't help me at all, but it's good for him.
He didn't just make the cut. He performed. So yeah, Gim definitely gets some love there. So yeah, and I put him in first round leader bets too. I feel like he should be coming in with confidence after doing that and pulling off that feat. So now we're left with I guess really our decision time at the top. I mean, we can go hyper balanced here. We can go Yager Siwoo, which is actually interesting. Denny, Justin Thomas. Gross.
Dear God.
We're not doing that.
I think for me, again, you can definitely do that. I kind of like Scott and Kirk.
That's going to be like a really low owned combo. I mean,
yeah,
again, I know people are going to be using Davis and Cole and on, but like, you know, topping off with like Adam Scott and Chris Kirk, I just don't think many people are going to be doing that. So it's kind of a week too where, you know, leaving money on the table, I think, is an option.
definitely.
You know, Hideki and then dipping back into the 7K range is obviously completely fine here because we have numerous players we can do.
Oh my God, Hideki and Noren. That would be what I would do, but you don't.
Yeah,
that's grounds for dismissal.
It's. I actually really liked your idea. Let's go Scott, and then you know you can take Kirk if you want, but
yeah, I would.
We'll go Adam
I would.
Scott. Yeah.
Adam Scott and Kirk, and again, if you're saying I'm worried about dupes, I want to make sure. No problem. Take Patrick Rogers. Take anyone else. Take Taylor Moore. Take Hadwin. You could put Hadwin in there and leave 200 on the table, and you have a very unique lineup.
Yeah.
So there's plenty that you can do there. Lindheim and Sanjay. See, these 2v2s are fantastic. So many ways to build. And that's what I love about Lineup Generator. You can play that game over and over and rerun your lineups super quick and super easy. And obviously, if you want to take it to the next level, the Sims are there, which you guys have seen. Greg puts out that tweet. That's high-end stuff. But we did it. Wyndham Championship, regular season in the books. I would give a long monologue about how much the season's meant to me, and I would mean it. But the season's not going anywhere. We'll be back next week talking Memphis. Like, golf never ends. So don't worry. We got plenty of content here, plenty to go off of, and hopefully we're celebrating some big success at the Wyndham Championship. But we're going to bounce on out of here, get ready for football. And what's that guy's name? Hassan Hall?
Hassan Hall. Hopefully. Not Hassan Haskins, Hassan Hall. UDFA. Hassan Hall. Cleveland Browns. Let's hope he plays the second half. I don't even know yet. We'll see. But that's one guy to look for. There's your preseason NFL content for me.
You can only get that on the golf show. I don't know why you can. That's not in the old run sheet. But you know what? We do what we want here. Appreciate you guys as always. And of course, appreciate Jordan Klein, who makes this show go, the man behind the glass. For me, for Jeff, for Jordan, for all of us at Stokastic, good luck. Enjoy the Wyndham. Stop by next week. Same time, same place.